Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going over a review and a discussion about One Piece Zou Arc. Now I imagine that this might be a much shorter video because this was only about 20 chapters long and this was really all about the setup. There wasn't a lot of really crazy stuff that happened. We got a lot of really good information, such as about, the poneglyphs. We found out that Gold Roger had been there. We found out that Shanks had been there. We found out about Sanji's family and all that. I won't bother recapping too much of it because it was only 20 chapters long. I'm sure you're all over it. I'll just talk more about my thoughts and feelings on it and what I expect in the future. But before we get into that, I did promise in my last video that I was going to answer questions about my game, so I will answer those right now. One of the big ones that came up was, number one, how is it not being cease and desisted into the ground? Especially a lot of people, since I started reading One Piece, and I put up the panels and stuff, a lot of people have said to me, you've got to be really careful because Toei is super protective about their stuff. I am aware of that, so thank you to everyone that did warn me about that. Thank you for looking out for me. I do appreciate that. The way I'm getting around that is it's not like One Piece, it's a pirate adventure game. I'm not using any of the One Piece names or anything like that. It's just a game that's based on the story of One Piece, right? So I've got, I'm going to have devil fruits, but they're not going to be called devil fruits. I'm going to have the pirate action, but it's not going to be called, XYZ. I'm not going to use the name Luffy, Zoro, Nami. I'm not going to use the words like Gold Roger or One Piece or anything like that. So it's going to feel like you're in a One Piece world, but it's not going to use those words. And that's how I'm going to get around it. But that also leads me into question number 2, which I feel is important that I should mention this. Am I selling it for money? No, I'm not going to sell the game for money, which is why I don't feel bad about making this game. This is just a passion project. This is just something I want to make and I want to share with people that also really appreciate One Piece and would like to play a mobile game based on One Piece. So what I'll probably end up doing is giving it away for free on my Patreon or something, and then I can see how many people have downloaded it to, and then I can see if it's worth me making a second one, a bigger one, a better one, because I've already got in my head's ideas for a second, bigger, better one. So no, I'm not selling it. I'll probably do it on my Patreon. Link down below if you're interested, if you want to help a brother out. And the way I'll be getting around things is by not using exact words. Someone asked me about the devil fruit system. I'll be calling it something different, but someone asked me about that. I've already made 20 different devil fruits. I'd list them here, but I feel like people might find that boring, so I won't bother. So I've already got 20 in the game that are functional, that you use, you eat it, and it gives you pretty great power-ups. Some will make you immune to fire and weak to ice, and you'll learn fire spells, and you'll learn certain things and you'll gain certain buffs. If you eat this fruit, you become a fireman, and so you gain attack and you gain agility or whatever. So I've got 20 different quote-unquote devil fruits so far. But moving on from all of that, we did get some really interesting points in this. We did get some good information, even though it was a particularly small chapter, even though it really was a setup chapter. We did get some good information out of it, such as Wano is the country that was making the poneglyphs, and we also found out about the map marker poneglyph, the red one, and its 4 points, as well as Big Mom and Kaido both have a copy, or both have the other 2 known location map marker poneglyphs. So that was really interesting for me. I did share in the Straw Hats' excitement when they were like, yeah, we're talking about Raffatel again, we're talking about the final island on the Grand Line, we're talking about all that. But there was one thing that was really interesting, and I want to put it up here. I hope I saved the panel, because boom, here it is. So here it is. Luffy says, so it's finally time, the place where we might find or might not find the One Piece. Right, so this is really interesting for me because, at this point we still don't know what One Piece is, and now Luffy's saying we don't even know if it's there. So we don't know what it is, we don't know if it's there. I still think it's information. I still think One Piece is all about the lost history, and it's all about the information, and it's not about gold or treasure at all. In fact, I think what will happen is when they do get to One Piece, wherever it is, it'll just be like a poneglyph, and it'll just have all the information of the world, and Nami will be there, and she'll be like, oh no, there's no money, and she'll be really sad, and then all of a sudden they will stumble across the big hordes of treasure, and Nami will be like, yes, we got all the treasure! But then, of course, in true One Piece style, they will then immediately lose all the treasure for some reason. And just on Raftel and all of that, I'm surprised that, on this half of the Red Line in the New World, we haven't gotten more information about the poneglyphs yet. We haven't really had a lot to do with the revolutionaries yet. Like, we did find out in this one that the revolutionary hideout was wiped out because the Blackbeard pirate was smuggled aboard Sabo's ship and then went there and then called, Teach and was like, hey, Blackbeard, come, let's get rid of the revolutionaries. And then they had their big fight that they had. So we know in this one that Blackbeard did come through and wipe all that out, which was really interesting because we really haven't had a lot of things to do with the revolutionaries in the past. I think I'm up to 825 chapters. In the 825 chapters that I've read so far, we really have not had a lot to do with the revolutionaries yet, which is, quite interesting from a writing standpoint, that Oda is like really playing this, like he's really playing the long game, like we're 825 chapters in and he still hasn't really had these guys like come out and do whatever it is that they're doing. They've been doing a lot of like behind the scenes stuff. I will say that this moment here, when we find out that the ninja guy had been on the island the whole time and that all of the minks had been just like lying the whole time to protect him, I was not expecting that at all. My reaction was the same as the Straw Hats down the bottom. I was just like, what? The guy's alive, the guy's in, and like when the samurai pushes out and he's like, stop fighting, I'm a samurai, I'm this guy of this place and blah blah blah, and Luffy and all of them are just like, oh no, what have you done? You have no idea what you're doing. And then this happens and I'm just like, oh, I did not expect it, I did not see it coming. It was like huge, and like the Cat Viper's lost half of his arm and the Juke Dog has lost a leg, and it was just, I was not expecting it at all. I believed from the very beginning that the ninja was not on the island, or that they didn't know that the ninja was on the island. To find out the whole time that they knew, and out of like a sense of honor, they wouldn't tell, and like everyone was ready to fight and everyone was ready to die because of their sense of duty and honor. I thought that was amazing. I did not see that coming at all. Here is another important moment that I wanted to discuss, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot during this half of the Red Line, is Luffy's power level in relation to everyone else's, like the Emperors of the Sea, for example. When Luffy's versing these, say like Big Mom, for example, or Kaido, or whoever, these people, these Emperors of the Sea, essentially have armies, right? They have armies of people, and they have like lots of people. Like we see at the end of this one, when Sanji's standing on the boat and there's like a little outpost on the water, and as they're cruising through, the T-Hat guy comes over and he's like, yeah, see that's one of our outposts. If we weren't part of Big Mom's fleet, we'd be getting like bombarded right now. And that's one of the things that Luffy can't really compete with right now, although he did get all those people in the last arc, right at the end. All those people were like, thank you for saving us, we swear loyalty to you, you are our father and we are your sons, kind of thing. But at the moment, it just feels like Luffy might be out of his depth because these emperors just have these like armies at their disposal. Like they have so many people that they have like outposts and stuff. I think it was like Tart Outpost 18 or something. They have 18 other outposts. It just feels like on a scale, it just feels like Luffy is here and like these other people are like here. So it'll be really interesting to see how Luffy addresses that, how he tips that scale. I don't know if he will, summon up all of his like sons to help him fight armies against armies, or if it will be something like, when we saw him fighting Don Flamingo, how everyone just kind of fights the captain heads. And much like in that Fish Island big fight, where Luffy used his haki and just like knocked out 50,000 people, it might be another one of those situations. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm just really interested to see how Luffy will address these moments where like essentially he's coming up against armies and he has to kill a figurehead to earn that position or to like beat up the people that he wants to beat up. And the point I was making with this panel is, Peckham's or however you say his name, is saying that Sanji couldn't have refused Big Mom's invitation. Otherwise, someone's head would have been cut off and delivered to him in a box. And Luffy's shocked. He's like, what? How could you know about that? How is this a thing? And Pickham's is like, this is what true power is. Like, true power is, like, you are at the top, and if people defy you, you have people beneath you that will go and cut someone's head off and give it to him in a box. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying, where, like, you know, like, these warlords are, like, these emperors are sitting up here, and they just have all these people below them. And it's, you know, how's Luffy going to, like, fight through all of those people to get to the one that he needs to get to? I did like this. I liked that Chopper found a lady reindeer in Zou, or Zou, or however you say that name. I like that he found a lady reindeer, and I hope that we get more of Chopper and the lady reindeer, because I feel that he deserves to be happy. Alright, like I said, nice quick video. The last thing I want to talk about is this. Now, if you've been watching me from the start of these videos, if you haven't, I've got a whole playlist of One Piece videos. Go back and watch it. If you have been, you'll know that I've been saying the same thing over and over again. Oda is amazing. And one of the things I say is Oda didn't have to do it, but he did it for us, right? This is one of those great moments that I wanted to talk about to really show off Oda's amazing writing ability, right? Now, when you're reading this panel, there really isn't too much to it. They're at a feast. You know, there's all the minks, there's all the people there, they're all eating, and Luffy says, what kind of meat is this? And they say, hippo, lizard, alligator, frog. We don't eat any furred animals. And to me, that was just a really interesting piece of world building that Oda didn't need to include, right? They could have just had that feast. They didn't need Luffy to ask. They didn't need them to answer the question, but he did it anyway. And then if you read through the entire thing, there is not a single one of the minks that do not have fur. There's no bird ones, there's no like chickens or eagles or owls or whatever. There's no bird ones, there's no lizard ones, there's no frog ones. There's only furred ones. And you might be sitting there and thinking to yourself, Josh, why does that matter? Like, okay, sure, he only drew furred people and he didn't eat people that were frogs. It matters for two reasons. It matters for consistency, right? When you're writing such a huge thing, when you take the time to make those little details consistent, it just shows how skilled you are as a storyteller. And two, it shows that he thoroughly planned out everything. But not only that, he must have also communicated that to his team as well. Which for me is a big green flag. For me, it shows quality. It shows that you can trust him. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones was telling a huge story. I'm talking about the TV series, not the book. Game of Thrones was telling a huge story. And when they were following the books, it went awesomely. When they did the last 2 seasons, because they didn't have the books to follow, it went crazy downhill. And a lot of stories suffer from this thing where they can tell a great story, but they just can't end them. But it's little things like this, for me, that make me trust, that make me believe that Oda can end this strong. I have no doubt and nothing but faith that he will end this strong. This will not be one of those things that does not end well. It may end tragically, or it may end sadly, but it will be a story that ends well. I will give him the commitment of time and faith, and I will follow it to the end. Anyways, guys, that's it. Pretty much nice, quick thing. I mean, there wasn't a lot to say. I mean, we could recap a lot of stuff, but I didn't particularly want to go through and recap everything because this was a particularly short thing and that might be boring. I'm really excited to find out what happens in Whole Cake Island, though, because I really want to find out what's going on with Sanji, and I want to find out what's going on with the woman that he's marrying, because we saw at the end of this one that he didn't seem particularly unimpressed by the way that she looked. If I was to make a prediction, if I was a gambling man, I would say that they're going to make it kind of funny. I'd say that they're going to make Sanjay meet this woman, and she's just going to be so annoying that Sanji cannot stand her. So it'll be like she was beautiful, but she was that annoying that Sanji was just like, oh my god. And at some point, Luffy will just be like, shut up! I imagine that's what'll happen. But really excited to find out more about Sanji's family, excited to finally see Big Mom and see Luffy and all of that kind of stuff happen. There is one more thing that I'm going to mention. So, at the end of Whole Cake Island, it then goes on to Wano, And I didn't realize how huge Wano is. Like, I was looking at what chapters are what arcs, so I know when to start and when to stop reading particular arcs and that. And I saw Wano, and it's over 100 chapters long. Like, that's where they're currently still up to. So I'm like, I'm almost caught up, right? I've got the Whole Cake Island arc, and then I'm on the arc that's currently going, and I'm reading about 50 chapters a week, so I'm only like 3 or 4 weeks away from being completely caught up. So, a chapter's coming out weekly? Is that what happens? Also, where do I find new chapters when they come out, if they come out weekly? If you know, please tell me. Anyway, thanks for watching this much. Leave a comment, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you next week for Whole Cake Island, and as always, thank you very much.